One thing we're doing is gathering all the science about these invasives, these horticultural invasives in our natural areas. This is a map of Island Lake, which is a conservation authority in the Credit Valley Conservation Authority jurisdiction. It's hard to see, but basically what they're showing there is there's a lot of Norway maple. There's also a lot of non-natives that are not for sale, but lilac is another one that's a big issue. Here along the Credit River, all that red area is covered with goutweed. And you see in a lot of our ravines, we have goutweed or Norway maple. And we don't have, so we've lost a lot of our native vegetation. And what's interesting, CVC is a little better than TRC on this, is that they have data of, they have the same plots they go back to year after year. So you can see the loss of diversity over time. iTree is the new name for U4, the urban forest studies that are conducted out of the USDA. We use that modeling here in the Toronto area, and the TRCA has led a number of U4 studies now called iTree studies. And those are fascinating because they show us that Norway maple, Tartanian honeysuckle, all of these non-native invasive horticultural plants are dominating our urban forests. So in the city of Mississauga, their 2008 study showed us that Norway maple is number 4 for total leaf area for open space and natural cover areas. I don't have to read them all, but you can see them there. The bottom one is really telling. In the city of Toronto, Norway maple is a big problem. I know outside of the city, some people say it's not a big problem, but our ravines, it's huge. And that's mainly because of all the seeds that travel through the storm drains, and then during flooding, they come up along the walls of the ravine, take root, and then we get all the eroding soil. Honeysuckle, a big problem. A lot of people don't think of honeysuckle as invasive, but it is. Tartarian honeysuckle, Moro honeysuckle, and there's another one, and readily available in nurseries. These are our goals to identify invasive and potentially invasive horticultural plants. We're having to use words like potentially and like soften our language because when we're dealing with the industry, they don't want to be seen as the bad guys, and we understand that. It's been great for me. Overall, I think it's been a really positive experience, and to meet with the growers has been fantastic because often they're family-run businesses, and I just have a lot of respect for them. And they're basically telling us over and over that they'll grow whatever there's a demand for. But right now, they have no interest in being certified as not selling invasives or certified as only selling natives because there's no demand for that. So why would they go to the extra efforts when they're already busy to do that when it's not going to result in any benefits for them? So our other goals are to endorse the production and use of non-invasive alternatives, including native species. And we put together a Grow Me Instead guide. Is it here? There's a few copies here. It's been very popular, and I'll talk a little bit about that later. In 2009, 2010, I worked with a University of Waterloo student to do some research on invasive species sales in Southern Ontario, and that was really interesting. Oh, okay. We have a brochure. It's online. We don't have it here, but anyway, so this research was fascinating. It told us, gave us an idea of the percentage of sales from one nursery to another that are say for Norway maple or periwinkle. Norway maple was the top one in its different cultivars. We have a number of outreach things as well as the display, the little brochure here, and the Grow Me Instead booklet. Oh, sorry, I wanted to go back. Actually, I'm not going to go back because I don't know if I'm going to be able to go forward again. But we did a tour, which was great because we talked to the growers a lot. We have these meetings in buildings, but we thought, it's okay. We thought, let's take them out and show them what a ravine looks like that's dominated by goutweed and Norway maple. And that was a bit tense at times, but it was also a really good day. By the end, Rod was dripping with sweat trying to talk to one of the growers that's mainly doing ground covers. And we didn't want it to be that way, but sometimes there's a bit of tension there. But you can't deny it. You're looking at that eroding slope. You're seeing that it's just Norway maple in an area that's supposed to be full of sugar beech and other things. Okay, so yeah, lack of interest in certification. When we just traveled around to nurseries too, and what we found was there was a lot of misinformation out there. Like, for instance, Lily of the Valley being labeled as native. Also, there's a nursery that's got a few retail stores in Greater Toronto area that promotes itself as being locally, all their stuff being locally sourced or locally grown. As you were saying about using the food movement, they're using some of that language, but it's not correct because if you know about nursery growing in Ontario, often the stuff comes in as liners, And in the case, we tracked back, we went back to try and find the source of the plants. And, so they don't actually, the rootstock is all on these liners, and it comes in, and then it's grown in Ontario just for, 1 or 2 seasons. And that rootstock can be from anywhere. The seeds, when you're talking about the herbaceous stuff, the seeds are coming from all over the place. And so in the case of some herbaceous stuff that was listed as locally grown, it was only grown for that season. And when we asked about it, it was originally, then it was, before that it was in British Columbia, before that it was in Oregon, and they couldn't tell us the source of the seed. So just to show you that there's, it was a miscommunication or misinformation out there. The Grow Me Instead Guide is an idea that we took from British Columbia, Oregon, and Sydney, where they're all struggling with the issue of horticultural invasive plants. And it's a great way of presenting the information in a very easy to understand way. So we present, for instance, I'm sorry, I actually took out the slide where it showed the guide to save on time, but if we have Norway Maple presented, then on the next page, as the invasive one that you should try to avoid, we have alternatives that are readily available and native. Some native, some not native, because natives are hard to come by. But so we might suggest Freeman maple or something else that's going to grow in an urban environment where you're typically seeing the Norway maples. It was a collaborative process, so it took a really long time to try and decide on the list of invasives that we were going to have feature in the guide. There was a lot of debate about that. But it's been hugely popular. We got it just before Canada Blooms, and we distributed over 5,000 just at Canada Blooms. Since then, we've done another print run. We're doing a French one that's going to be available soon, online only, because we don't have the funds to deliver it now, to print it now. And for some reason, me in Toronto, who's never been to Northern Ontario, is now helping to coordinate the Northern Ontario guide. So I'm dealing with a lot of gardeners and municipal forestry staff in Northern Ontario. So it will be quite different because they have a different set of invasives up there. We had quite a bit of coverage and uptake, and this is a list of the different partners that put our guide up on their website and featured our guide in their newsletters, or sorry, their print materials as well. We have a presentation that goes along with the guide, so we've made connections with master gardeners and horticultural societies. I did the same thing with the Healthy Yards group, and so we go out and we offer these resources to them, and then they can use them as they see fit. And yes, just to say that we're continuing as a committee of OIPC, and these are our priorities in the next year. We need to get some funding because this project has so much potential, but we're kind of limited by funding. So we're hoping to do that and hoping to do a GTA nursery outreach. But we're going to use the research we did on nurseries to do that kind of outreach. Just as an example, the nurseries told us over and over again they don't have time to send their staff through training sessions, and they don't want big signs saying, this is invasive. And so we're going to use the information that we gathered from the research to start doing some nursery outreach. I'm going to leave it at that because I'm out of time. Thank you. One more minute.